It's been 2 years since Alexei Navalny is not among us anymore. And the world is getting weirder and weirder and weirder. But Alexei Navalny wasn't afraid, and I won't be. Moin moin, dear people, old, new, my friends, the friends of my friends, my relatives, and anyone in the world who found this channel and who thought that the topics I'm talking about might be interesting for them. My name is Anna, of Northern Germany, as always, a survivor, a fighter, a writer, and on this channel I talk about writing because I'm an aspiring author, about mental health awareness because I was diagnosed with depression a while ago, about books because I adore books, and sometimes about politics, but not too often because it's not good for my mental health. And probably in this video I'm going to be raging, but the news is going to be related to Russia, to Germany, and to the world. So I think I'm competent-ish in commenting on these three places. It's a political tea, dear people. I am having Klosterfrau, a nun. Is it called a nun? I know that there is a monk and a nun, right? Because in Russia they distinguish between, no, it's right, monk, nun, nun. The drink is called the nun. It's like a medical drink, something for your throat, something for your immune system. I think it's something with red currant, probably, I'm not sure, something chemical. Artificial berries, something that I like, because my throat is not doing too well, unfortunately, and so far I feel very hyped because I have filmed TikToks and now I'm filming this video, and probably tomorrow I will be dead. Probably not, probably I will recover, I have no idea. So I'm drinking this, so you can also take a drink for yourself. And this video is going to be in between because from February I decided to give myself a bit more space, so I will post videos every 2 weeks because I also have TikTok now, so it's a bit, and I have like writing to work on. For this video I decided that I will give myself 10 minutes for each topic, and I really hope that I will fit in 10 minutes each, maybe a bit shorter even. I wrote a script for myself. I wrote it between like at work when I had time, so it's like a scrape of paper, and I hope it will help me to bring my thoughts together, and I really hope that it is not going to be a 1 hour long video. No, surely not. Topic number 1. Of course, Alexei Navalny was poisoned. Alexei Navalny, as we recently found out, as if we hadn't known that before, okay, whatever. He was poisoned. Now officially, the Russian Federation is accused of killing one of their citizens. He was poisoned with the venom called epibutidine, I'm not sure I pronounce it correctly. And it is generated artificially from the frog species. I will put this beautiful frog, very cute. I love frogs. Do you love frogs, guys? I surely do. These species are typical for Ecuador or South America, somewhere there. This kind of venom has to be synthesized, and the research was conducted some time ago because they had a belief that probably it could have been a painkiller, a very strong painkiller. And yes, it has qualities of a very strong painkiller, but the thing is, the amount of this kind of, material, product, venom, like the amount of this material that kills is not really much different from the material that cures, that works as a painkiller. So you can technically accidentally kill a person. My lamp doesn't like the blue and green, I don't know, it always wants to change for pink. Whatever. Certainly it was synthesized in a laboratory. Of course, also for sure, this kind of venom is not something that Alexei Navalny could have found somewhere in the yard in jail where he was strolling shortly before he had a seizure, or he had the process began, so to say. It's very interesting because long ago, like in 2013, Alexei Navalny referred to Putin as to a frog sitting on the oil pipe. Is it vengeance? I cannot say. These people, I believe they're not as smart, they're not as witty to just use the frog's poison as a vengeance. But otherwise, I cannot say for sure. I cannot say no, surely not, because these people remember everything. I watched several videos. I also watched videos of the scientists, and they, however, believe that the reason why this poison was implemented was simply because it was new and they were searching for something that was not Novichok, because Novichok had become very well known in the past years with Navalny and also the Salisbury case, etc., etc. So they tried to extract something new, and this is most likely what happened, why they used exactly this poison. I have a suspicion that the conclusion was made quite long ago, because Alexei Navalny is not with us for 2 years already, and for quite a while ago we already heard that some samples, some materials of Navalny's DNA, Navalny's cells, were transported from Russia to Europe. What exactly it was, likely hair samples, nails, blood would be the best for this kind of research, but it's not likely it was hair or nails or scrapes of skin. And so far, this information, who and how and when, is not going to be made public because, people, it's still, it must stay confident, because these people can get in danger. And also, if something similar happens, I hope not, we should still have this opportunity to transport those things from Russia to Europe. The laboratories that concluded that and that agreed simultaneously but separately, those were the laboratories of Great Britain, of France, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden. Have I named Sweden? I think Germany and probably even France I named in my supposition. There was a similar video, in autumn, when Yulia Navalny asked the countries to make this information public, because it was already known at that point. I don't know what they were afraid of or whatever. So it was likely clear already at that point. What we know about this venom, it stays in the body for quite a long time. On the one hand, it's a bit strange that they use such a venom that stays for a long time, but at the same time, maybe they simply didn't count on the possibility that the cell information, the DNA, whatever it is called, could be possibly transported to Europe. If person is poisoned with this hepabetidine, there is no antidote. And the only way for a person to survive is to be supported, like his, vital functions of his body, for example, the artificial lung ventilation, like heartbeat, like the support. Basically, the person's body is put on this artificial support of living, and you have to wait till the poison leaves your body. But at the same time, it will take some time, unfortunately. So probably the person dies before, if the body cannot combat this venom anymore. This poison also impacts nervous cells, so what kind of pain it causes, I just really don't want to know. You need just a very, very small dose to kill you. Likely, Navalny took this poison together with food or with drinking water, or maybe it was injected, but I think it doesn't make much of a difference, doesn't make how exactly it was implemented. And the symptoms to all hypochondriacs, I'm with you over there. What are the symptoms? The symptoms are quite alike with the poisoning of nicotine. And basically, this poison, this venom causes confusion, shortage of breath, like whistling breath. Also, from what I heard, first you start vomiting, then you start like feeling this shortage of breath, convulsions, and seizure probably eventually. And you basically choke. And you die very, very unpleasantly. Consequences. I don't think there are going to be any. Putin doesn't care. The war in Ukraine right now is longer than the Second World War continued on the territory of the USSR. Maybe not longer yet as the whole Second World War, but is already longer than the war that continued on the USSR, or almost as much as it continued in the USSR. And Putin already did so much unforgivable stuff, and I think if he does a bit more, he doesn't care. He just doesn't care. He just crossed this boundary long ago. He's the devil, basically. And there is nothing you can do against him. I'm in a crisis. What can you do against him? I really have no idea. Okay, I managed-ish. I think about Alexei Navalny, I said everything I wanted to say, everything that was, in my heart. And the next topic is related to Germany. It's related to Friedrich Merz, to Friedrich Schmerz, as you like it, Friedrich Merz. If you like him, I don't understand you. Friedrich Merz isn't on the Epstein's files, but it doesn't make him any better, I still see him as a very privileged person, quite far from being down to earth and quite far from imagining what his country really needs, because he was re-elected, if I'm not mistaken, last February. And I remember the faces of my friends when he was re-elected, and also when the Nationalist Party being so close to also being like among the leaders. That was terrifying. Friedrich Merz, the chancellor, the Parliamentary Republic of Germany. There is a chancellor. Chancellor is elected from the party that gathered the biggest number of votes. And the Christian party, Angela Merkel also was from the Christian party, won. Friedrich Merz replaced Olaf Scholz. By the moment when Olaf Scholz became the chancellor, the fatty, happy, prosperous years of Germany had long passed. And everything that was going on, like the unhappiness that was spreading in Germany, was not totally Olaf Scholz's fault. Okay, we have to accept that. He's not perfect. You can say anything about him, like Olaf Scholz. Everyone was basically accusing him of being very non-charismatic, and I guess for a politician it's quite a serious accusation because, of course, but at the same time he managed to become a chancellor, so I think it's not that bad. Probably just for people in their eyes, like, he's not exactly a meme, he's not exactly like he is a bureaucrat, as my integration course teacher used to say. We are still getting to this topic. And at that point, when the elections were being prepared, it was already quite clear that he didn't really have high chances, like good chances, to be re-elected. At the same time, I'm a person who comes from a dictatorship. For me, like, the strategy would be, unfortunately, I cannot vote in Germany. My strategy would be to, choose the least harmful option. For example, Olaf Scholz is quite a harmless option. For example, Friedrich Merz is like the worst option. Of course, the worst option was that lady who is a lesbian but who doesn't accept she's a lesbian from this nationalist party. Okay, that doesn't matter. Of course, that would be the worst option. But for me, as a Navalny's follower, there was also this smart election type when you basically just push, you just gather, accumulate your votes and send your votes to the person, to the least disgusting person. For this person is just who is harmless to come to power instead of more disgusting people. But my friends, and of course I cannot judge them because they have been living in Germany longer than I'm living in Germany, and the disappointment levels were quite high. Many young people from my friends, they voted for Die Linke, the far left party, and I really understand why. But at the same time, this is how Friedrich Schmerz was elected. At the very beginning, like, it was not too dramatic what he did and what his government did. Previously, in 2024, people, well-integrated people, were allowed to apply for the German citizenship after 3 years of residency instead of 5. Well, he omitted that rule, he omitted that law. On the one hand, yeah, probably 3 years are not enough, but at the same time, there are so-called late settlers. Those are people whose relatives some time ago, they came from Germany, and those people have a lot of privilege. They can just apply for a passport. Of course, I'm sure it's not as easy as I'm naming that, and if you're a late settler, I'm very sorry, probably you're an amazing person. But also, I know some people who are not really motivated to learn German or integrate, and there are also some bloggers from Belarus, I really love them, but they got passports as late settlers in Germany, and after 2 years they haven't even learned German, they were not motivated, and they left for Portugal with their German passports because now they have green light everywhere. So, and I, for example, I love Germany. I'm not going anywhere, Friedrich Schmerz, just saying. Well, and I'm quite well integrated. I think my German is quite good, and I work and whatever. But I have to wait. Yeah, fair. I don't know. But probably when we talk about modern world and any time, like in the world in the past, also fair is not the right word to use, right? Also, at the same time, at that point, I was doing my integration course. I passed all the tests, and I was about to start Berufssprachkurs B2. It's something like work-related German course, which is also every day, very intensive, B2 level. B2 level, like for the beginning, like B1 is like the basic, like survival and being able to work a bit, like on the, on the lower positions. B2 is already a better level. It's a person who can speak freely, who can communicate and also can go into details, so to say. But in anticipation of changes, our course was cancelled, and eventually I paid for my course myself. It was 2 times a week, but I'm quite a motivated person. German is not my favorite. German is not my first language, so for me it wasn't that big of a deal that I had to do it myself. Of course, I would have preferred that if they paid for me, but okay, I did that. I had a discount. Also, right now, Friedrich Knight Merz, he insists that Germans don't want to work, and especially immigrants. And there was a funny statistics that popped up recently, and they published the most common names of the people who get the benefits from the job center, like jobless people, the support they get. And the top names are Michael, Andreas, Thomas, and Daniel. My friend is Daniel, by the way, but he works a lot. He works too much. Then they started to talk about mini job. Mini job is less than 20 hours per week, mostly as a job for the beginning, like to start out in Germany, or for students. And a mini job, of course, it's not like a real job. That's why it's also called a mini job. And from the point of view of an employer, can also understand, because you don't pay taxes if you earn this mini job, but your employer still has to pay taxes. So that's why it's a bit. But then Teilzeit job also became not enough for Friedrich Schmerz. And Teilzeit job, I have Teilzeit job. I have to accept that. It's half-time job, like not 40 hours per week, but 20. Why I do this job? Not the only job I found. I like how they say that everybody must work, but really, I see people searching for a job like for months. And they also searched for a job, and I was ignored so many times. They say that as if it's like so easy to find a job. It's just incredible. And okay, 20 hours for me, because you can see that I am having fun on YouTube here. I just love doing that. And also I write. I enjoy writing. I want to publish a book. I want to write other books. And for me, I want to do this on side too, and I also need like mental space. And I also was diagnosed with depression some time ago. I cannot work as much as I would want to work, or as I was able to work like some time ago. And for me, that side job is not too bad, It's just maybe my generation, but we don't want to work till we die, because when you die, you die. If you collapse at your work, tomorrow they will find another person. But work is not the whole life, Maybe you can tell me that I'm lazy, but yeah, it is what it is. But at the same time, this Teilzeit job is something typical that women do. Why? because in Germany it's still expected from women to take the biggest chunk of the maternity leave. 2, also when the child is ill, to go and stay with the child at home. And also the household is still maintained by the woman. Like, Germany is a progressive country, but still, I also can see that from my colleagues. Still, all these expectations are on women's shoulders. That's why many women have to do Teilzeit. They have to do Teilzeit. And it doesn't come to Friedrich Schmerz's mind, of course, because he's a man and he's a very privileged man. He probably never suffered a second in his life, never was in any need in his life, so okay, understandable. Also, recently, of course, with Friedrich Merz, the Ukrainians' 24th paragraph, their reason to stay in Germany, which was prolonged yearly for another year, they said that in 2027 they put an end to it. I don't want to comment on it, I'm no Ukrainian, but I must say that when I see this news every time, I have such a massive wave of anxiety. I don't have the 24th paragraph, and I really don't want to imagine what Ukrainians feel at that point. And we're not going to judge Ukrainians if they work, if they don't work. Especially, I am Russian, and their country is at war, and my country, they are having the war because of my country, so I better not say anything. And the cherry on this sheet cake is that they decided to limit the access to the integration courses. And BAMF, Bundesamt für Migration und Flüchtlinge, genau, Bundesamt für Migration und Flüchtlinge. So this organization that occupies themselves with migrants and refugees. So they want to ensure that only refugees, goodbye asylum seekers, and migrants with so-called prospects of remaining in the country will be approved for courses by the BAMF. Previously, they had this integration program like from the first days in Germany, and almost everyone, or maybe even everyone, could apply for the course. The government also paid, and that also include asylum seekers, because for asylum seekers sometimes they wait for ages for their cases to be approved or disapproved, unfortunately. And in this time they could still be busy, they could still start learning German, but no, they say that doesn't work like this anymore. But okay, make it even better, even better. Mostly they will support studying German up to A2 level, like basic survival level. And after B1, you'll have to, like, if you want to get B1, and I just remind you, I'm a language specialist. I used to teach English, for example, and B1 is the crucial level to obtain if you want to work, if you want to get by and not to struggle daily. You will still struggle. B1 is not ideal, but it's just, like to make the ground for you to develop in the country. I'm just saying this. And yeah, just like Donald Trump, Friedrich Merz is a populist. Don't vote for populists, because the only thing they do is blah blah. And by what means they do that? By very, very cruel means. And maybe, yeah, I don't know, I'm just very angry about this topic. And yeah, I think it's all totally unfair. And I just want Friedrich Merz to leave the country and settle somewhere in Antarctica. Okay, I have no more tea. Maybe a good half I spilled all around me, as always. Subscribe on this channel. Here we spill the tea literally, and I already see that it's taking longer than I had hoped for, because of course if I start speaking I can never stop. And yeah, okay, let's reduce the degree of drama, let's increase the degree of insanity, and let's talk about the Olympics. And I think the Olympics should have renamed for the politics, just the politics instead of the Olympics. They also chose like bluish greenish again. You go back to her, I go back to bluish greenish. It will stop again in some time, and I hope I will just cover this topic quicker than the previous two, because they were like hot topics. Do you watch the Olympics? And do you watch like every season? Are you a dedicated watcher of the Olympics, or every now and then? The only Olympics that I truly watched were the Olympics in 2014. And at that point, I was 16, 15. It's hard to say. I was a young girl. And at that point, I didn't understand yet that the only thing we did, we just shook sacks of money in front of other nationalities. And we took off, flew very high, gathered all these golden medals. We won, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this golden medal, which is not like a gold medal, which is not the official gold medal. It's basically on the screen, like this team, like the whole country, the whole team country gold medal, and it doesn't change anything, it's just on the screen. But of course we really wanted to win that one, just wanted to show how great we were. And yeah, we were flying high. Then we flew even higher when we annexed the Crimea in March. Then we just stumbled down and rolled down into the puddle, because we were accused of taking drugs, or whatever they're called, doping in Russia. And we also lost a good half of the medals, our sportsmen. And up till today, I don't know how much, to what extent we really messed it up, and to what extent it was just politics. I really don't know. But every time I really feel sorry for the Russian sportsmen, because the situation was getting worse and worse for them. And now the number of sportsmen who can travel to the Olympics, of course, with the neutral flag, with the neutral uniform, is like the number is so small, and there are real fights. And despite the fact that the Russian government tries to present the Olympics as it's not much of a privilege to perform in the Olympics, it's not big of a deal, at the same time everybody knows that. Their trainers, the sportsmen, sportswomen, they all know that it's a big deal, and a sports person can have only one Olympics. Well, maybe sometimes some people are lucky, they have one Olympics. But in Russia, sports, like all this area, they do it in a very harsh way. The trainers treat their sports persons in a very cruel way. At the same time, Russia is considered to have a very powerful school, for example, in gymnastics, or in synchronic swimming, or in ice skating. And many people say that without Russians and without stars, because the time of the ice skating stars had passed, and without all those there is nothing to watch on the arena. But I know I always feel very sorry for sports people. I just don't want to distinguish sportsmen, whatever, sports people, because they put everything on the altar of these Olympics, and they get so many injuries, and they are not really allowed, at least in Russia, to express their feelings, to express their dislike, and it's basic slavery. But at the same time, they, at some point, because they all grow up like while doing this, because they come to this to training very early in their life, and they don't imagine their life without it. And so it's like voluntary slavery, but not exactly voluntary slavery. I watched like only partly what it is going on right now, and what I noticed and what everybody noticed, that Russian names prevail. Although we have like only one sportsman performs in skating, I think. Definitely not many, and under the neutral flag. But Russian sports people are scattered all over the world, because some time ago their parents left Russia for the better future, and this is, and here, goodbye, you can say goodbye to the green, to the northern lights, very beautiful, but now it's gonna be pink. It's very sad that in the past they left Russia because they saw no future for their children in sports or in whatever, and they gained this future for them. But it's still true. It's still true for Russia that people have to flee to get the future for themselves or for their children, for the generations after. But at the same time, like, I heard about skating performance and how unfairly it is judged. And basically skating is now jumps, how many like turns you can do, and all the other components of figure skating, they don't matter much anymore. And at the same time, they are pressured so much. For example, Ilya Malinin was pressured so much, and I really worry about his mental health, because they made a star of him, and they had like too high of expectations, and it happened several times also with Russian stars. And I'm very happy that they don't allow to send like 2 young kids to the Olympics to get rid of this, one-time star, like one-time sports person. Like, it's like so cruel, so cruel. And this world is so cruel. And it's just so unfair. And also, for example, our athletes, I don't know how many there are, like Russians, everybody knows that they're Russians, like under the neutral flag. We all know that. We all know that they are still there. I wish people just watched the Olympics and just everybody was friends, and they just don't harm themselves and each other, and everybody would be happy as they are, and they would just compete to the level as much they can perform, and love and peace. And yeah, I guess this part of the video is a bit, I just wanted to say that probably from watching the Olympics are the reflection of the today's world, and today the world is crazy, and to derive pleasure from watching the Olympics, it becomes more and more difficult. And also when you gain more critical thinking, it gets even worse. But okay, I think my brain is already exhausted for today, and I think I will let you go and let myself go. and let myself have some dinner. And yeah, I just felt like speaking. If you want to add something in the comments, you're always welcome. If you have your own opinion, you're double welcome. If you want to call me stupid, you can. The diarrhea curse is always an option. Thank you, and immense thank you for watching it till the end. Wow, you are amazing. You have a lot of patience listening to me. Blah, 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 blah. I respect you. I admire you even. And if you want to support my channel, thumbs up and a comment are the easiest ways. I also now have TikTok, I have Instagram, I have Medium where I write articles when I have time. And also I have Buy Me a Coffee, and if you want to support me with a bit of money, you can also do that. I will be wishing you a good day, night, whatever you're having. Stay healthy, not like me. I also hope I will not just collapse tomorrow. And I will be wishing you love, and peace from another Germany. And see you in the next videos, which are a bit less intense. And tschüss.